up, everybody? Subaru fan here for another car review. This is, of course, the 2005 Subaru Legacy GT. Huge thanks to Sean for providing me with his very awesome Legacy GT to review for you guys today. And the links to his channel can be found below in the description. So anyway, about the Legacy GT. Well, as many of you know, I owned one of these for 5 years, the 2006 Spec B, and I loved it. I loved the car, and so I'm really excited to be driving this. I haven't driven one since, and this is going to be really exciting. But as far as the looks go for the Legacy GT here, I think they really did a great job. You know, it's really, of course, you know, this has the chin splitter and a few other aftermarket upgrades like the grille, but even from the factory, these are just beautiful. The guy that styled this car used to work for Alfa Romeo and then came over to Subaru, did this car, the Hawkeye STI and WRX, and then the Subaru B9 Tribeca. And because everyone hated the B9 Tribeca, he was fired, unfortunately. But I think he did a great job with this car. I think it's just beautiful, very aggressive yet elegant at the same time. And I think it's just, it even looks a little more expensive than it actually is. And you know, you have the hood scoop nicely integrated to the back end. I think the whole car has just really aged very well now. You know, being a 10-year-old car now, it really doesn't look it. It looks really nice still, and especially in this blue color, which is very rare. It's a very nice looking car. Right, so for the interior of the Legacy GT, well, this is the base trim, which they only had for a few years, and so it has the cloth seats, but they're really nice. You know, I always like these seats. I mean, like I said, I've sat in them for 5 years of driving, almost 90,000 miles I put on mine, and they're really comfortable seats, you know, great for long road trips and things like that. They're not the most supportive. I mean, they could use a little more side bolstering and things like that, but really, they're not bad, and I mean, you know, for a Legacy, they're really great seats. Next is the steering wheel and the Legacy GT, which was always one of my favorite parts about it. Very nice leather wrapped Momo steering wheel, by the way, and just a perfect 9-3 grip. Really nice little 10-2 notches here, and I love the perforated parts of the leather here. And it feels great in your hands. It's not super thick. It's actually kind of thin, and I really like that about it. And it looks great. It feels great. Next is the gauges in the Legacy GT, which are very cool because they're electroluminescent. And whenever you don't have the car on, it's totally dark. It's a very tinted lens there, but whenever you have them on, they're very bright and look really cool. Actually, I always loved them. Just a really attractive and exciting graphic design there for them, and you know, just the basic few gauges, nothing crazy. Again, this is 10 years old, but being that it is 10 years old, it still looks really cool, and I think that the electroluminescent thing was a little bit ahead of its time. Another gauge that the owner added aftermarket was this nice boost gauge here, which is Pro Sport, and also has the same thing it mirrors, where it's electroluminescent almost, where it's you know, a tinted lens there and very bright, and you can change it to many different colors. But a boost gauge is definitely a must because this car does not come with one from the factory, unfortunately, and so that's something that I added as well on mine, and a great upgrade. Come along to the center of the dashboard here, though. It's really attractive and nicely done. So, you know, you have this little screen up here. If you have one of the limited ones or one of the Spec Bs like I did, you'd have a navigation system here instead, which was also pretty good, by the way. It was an old Kenwood unit. It was a little slow, but it actually worked really well, and it was touchscreen, easy to use, and it was very good. But, you know, even without that, it's still nice just to have a little cubby up here. Otherwise, though, you have this nice 6-disc in-dash CD changer, and, you know, for a car in 2005, that's all you could really ask for, and, you know, it's pretty good. You got the CD, AM, FM, no satellite radio, no auxiliary jacks. That kind of stuff can be added in aftermarket as well, but this does not have it from the factory. But, I mean, everything's pretty nice. You know, I mean, the volume knob is a pretty nice resistance, and, again, I mean, all the buttons are still firm, and after, this car's got over 100,000 miles, and everything's still held up well. Very nice quality materials. All the knobs are large enough you can use them easily with gloves on and things like that. And you know, you have automatic climate control standard as well, which is great and works really well. And yeah, overall, just all the basics, but it does it all really well, and it's just a good little interior. As far as storage space goes in the Legacy GT, it's pretty decent. So you have little map pockets here in the doors, and then you have a little cubby here, which is just a cigarette lighter or an ashtray essentially, but you can fit some change in there. Like I said, the base ones have this cubby up here. The Limiteds and the Spec Bs and whatnot always have a navigation system there. Then you have the two cup holders, which are nicely hidden away here with this little slider thing, and yeah, they're great. You know, nice deep cup holders do a really good job. Also, you'll find your heated seat controls right around here too, which comes standard. Another nice standard feature. You have this center armrest, which in the base model here does not extend out, but the Limiteds that does extend out. But it's not super soft, but it's got a little bit of padding sitting on it, so it's not totally uncomfortable to put your elbow on. And then you open that up, and there's a pretty deep center console there that has a power outlet as well, and you can fit a good amount of things in there. And so overall, pretty usable interior. Backseat space in the Legacy GT is really great. I mean, of course, this is a 4-door normal sedan, but it's just a very roomy space. There's lots of headroom, lots of legroom, and you know, in my 5 years of ownership, I never had trouble fitting anyone in the back seat, so very capable. Trunk space in Legacy GT is also very generously spaced, right up there with all the other mid-size sedans of this time, and you know, it's still a very large and respectable trunk even today, very roomy, and overall, just this is a very practical car. You know, you have the little pass-through there for skis and whatnot, and so, you know, it's really a handy thing, although the rear seats don't fold down on the sedans, but, you know, having that pass-through is still nice. All right, so let's start up and go for a drive. Legacy GTs have this nice key that I always liked, and then you have, of course, have the separate fob, again, 10 years old. Anyway, you just slip that in, put your foot on the clutch, and it starts right up. Alright, so setting off in the 2005 Subaru Legacy GT here. So, first thing you notice is the clutch is very easy to use, really. It's not too heavy. I mean, it's not super light either. I'd say it's heavier than a BRZ or something like that. But it's very, you know, light for the most part, easy to use. Otherwise, visibility is very good. Hood drops down nicely. You just barely get a glimpse of that hood scoop, but otherwise, you know, hood does not get in your way. So very good view forward, very good view out of the sides here. You do have a B-pillar, but it's thinner, and so not too bad at all to see around, and large rear window as well, so you can see out of the back just fine. Other things you notice, now this car is on the stock suspension, but it does have anti-sway bars, which is one of the best upgrades handling wise for these cars. And but you know, the ride's very soft and smooth for the most part. I mean, it's, you know, not buttery smooth, but it's certainly, you know, not harsh. I think it's definitely a lot more comfortable than a WRX would be of the same year on stuff like this. And so overall, you know, I mean, the Legacies are tuned to be a little bit more luxurious, a little more comfortable, and so I think anyone coming out of a WRX will notice that. Alrighty, so let's turn on this back road here and see how it does. So, you know, this is the 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and 2005 it got it before the WRX did in 2006. So it doesn't have the smack in your face like rush of the boost like you get in the WRX. It's a little more progressive, but it still has that great turbo surge, and this car has even more of that because this is Cobb Stage 2. And so standard from the factory, you got 250 horsepower and about 250 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is right around 5.1 seconds or so, actually, because you have a 5-speed manual, so you don't have to shift into third to get to 60. But with this Cobb Stage 2, you're up closer to around 300 horsepower at the crank and around 300 pound-feet of torque, I believe. And those are just from what I've read before. But either way, it's very impressive, obviously very quick. And if it is close to that 300 horsepower mark, then this is essentially as fast as an STI, and it feels about that fast. It just, oh yeah, you just step on that gas a little bit and it just moves. This thing scoots. Other things you notice right off the bat, the brakes. This one has pretty soft feeling brakes. Mine were a little better feeling, but that could just be something because of age. We got a tight corner here coming up, and see about this handling. And these sway bars really, you know, get rid of a lot of the body roll. Now there's still a little bit, obviously tires and bigger wheels, things like that would go a long way in helping the handling, but it handles really well. I mean, this is a little bit of a larger car, but not too much. It only weighs about 3,300 pounds, thanks to it being 10 years old and not having, you know, tons of heavy equipment like modern cars do these days. But here, let's do another acceleration. Oh, that's great. And so he has a turbo back exhaust on this. It's a Cobb catback, and then he has the NVIDIA downpipe. And surprisingly, it actually is pretty quiet. I thought it'd be a whole lot noisier, but it's great because whenever you don't have that loud exhaust, you still get to hear that great turbo whine that you heard on camera here, and it just sounds awesome. And that's one thing I always loved about these. Another thing I always loved about these is the springs are a little bit softer, and that's kind of why it doesn't have razor sharp handling, but those softer springs give you more drama because you stomp on the gas and you can feel the front end like lift up and the rear end just squats down as you go, and it makes everything a little more dramatic, a little more exciting, and I always loved that about mine. The manual transmission is really nice. Now it's a little clunky and you can't really bang through the gears super quick, but it feels really good. I always love just going into the gears. It's just really nice, and it's a nice easy action. I like the longer throw of it. It's just perfectly placed, feels good in your hands. But anyway, I'm going to drive this car around for a little while longer here, and I'll come back and give you some updated impressions. Alright, so I've been driving this car for a little while longer, and honestly, obviously I put over 90,000 miles or so on one that I owned for 5 years, so I have a lot of experience with this car, so I don't need a lot of time to drive it to know, what it's like. It's really a fun car. It's really great for a lot of different reasons. I mean, one of the things I enjoyed about mine was, it's a sleeper. It's more of, most Legacies are owned by grandmas. They're not, the most eye-catching car, but it's a good-looking car, I think, and it keeps you under the radar. Another great thing is, especially with the Legacy GTs, as far as my insurance companies whenever I had mine, they only charge you for a regular Legacy. So unlike WRXs where the insurance is sky high because they're like, oh, that's a turbocharged car, most insurance companies don't differentiate between the Legacy GT and the regular Legacy, so you get cheap insurance rates, which is also another great perk of having one of these. And it's just, I think these actually depreciate a little bit quicker than the WRXs as well, so you can get a Legacy GT with more horsepower from the factory than a comparable WRX, and and you can get it cheaper as well. I mean, these are harder to find, I will say that. They're definitely not as common as WRXs, and that's another thing that's also kind of a pro is, that was interesting. The guy just pulled out in front of me. But anyway, that's another thing that's, a pro of these cars is that you don't see them as much. So it's a little bit more of a rarer sight, and a lot of people enjoy that. You're not just another WRX. You're driving something different, unique, and kind of rare these days. And so that's definitely something to be respected as well. But I mean, they handle great. It's not the sharpest handling car, of course. And, it is more of a luxury grand tourer, I would say, than an all-out, backroads attack monster, but you could definitely put coilovers on it or something like that and really turn it into a handling machine. But I mean, everything about the car is really nice. It was a great car for me for 5 years. It was always reliable, never broke down on me. The one time I had issues with it was because of mods that I did that messed it up, and so the car never failed on its own. It was always reliable, it was always trustworthy, safe, just a really great car. And I think Subaru did an amazing job with these, and it's really a shame that they got rid of the Legacy GTs. I know the Legacy now is just turned into a bloated, large Camry fighter, unfortunately, but these ones were really, I think, the best years of the Legacy in my opinion, with the different Spec Bs and special editions, and they're all so well done here from 05 up through 09. Really love them, and they're still a very roomy car, but it's the right size. It's small enough, it doesn't feel like an enormous car that you have to pilot around everywhere. It's the right size, but it's not overwhelming, and yet you still have plenty of room. It's still a normal functional family sedan. And I think it really plays just about all those things very well. And if you want to go for an even rarer Legacy with more room, you can get the wagons as well, which is even cooler. Everyone loves wagons. You can get a turbocharged manual transmission wagon Legacy. Those things are sweet. So it's really great. And if you want more ground clearance, you go for the Outback XTs, which are the same thing, just with a little more ground clearance. So there's so many great ones to choose from here in this model years of these cars. They really were all so fun. I love this time period where Subaru was putting turbos on everything that they made almost, and it's a really great car, and I miss mine. I'm telling you what, I mean, I've sold it a little over 2 years ago now, and I still miss it from time to time. I really do. So if you have one of these, I'd say hang on to it, because you'll regret ever getting rid of it. And anyone that's considering one of these, I get lots of messages from you guys on Facebook that you're considering them. If you can find a nice one that's still in good shape, absolutely jump on it. Like I say, said, it's going to be cheaper to own than a WRX, I think, in the long haul. The only downside, I would say, is there's not really too much aftermarket support for these anymore, because the Legacies are a lot more rare, and so parts companies just quit selling them. Cobb used to have a full exhaust. They don't anymore. I had the parent exhaust on mine. They don't make that anymore. So a lot of the stuff you either have to buy used or go to some of the few car companies that are still making parts, like Borla and NVIDIA and stuff like that, and get some parts from them, or just do a custom thing, you know. But that's the only downside, I will say, is the aftermarket for this car is definitely shrinking, which is a really sad thing, because these are phenomenal cars, and the modifications just make them even better. But one last acceleration here. That little turbo whine, and with the Cobb Stage 2 tune, you can also hear some of that blow-off valve a little bit. And but yeah, so anyway, let me know what you guys think about the Legacy GT. Huge thanks to Sean once again for allowing me to review his here, and he's thinking about doing more videos of this car and posting them up on his YouTube channel, so definitely check it out in the description below if you're interested in following this car's progress as he does more mods and things like that in the future. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.